What's going on, everyone? Ben and Dan here from the Friendly Neighborhood Fanboys, and we are the only two out of the four of us who have seen the Batman, and we're just going to do a little bit of a first impressions video for you guys.
But don't you worry, we're going to be putting out a full podcast, spoilers and everything. Like I said, it's going to be a spoiler-free review, so it's just going to be us hashing through our thoughts and talking about what we just saw last night, which was the Batman. I mean...
But before you hear our thoughts, if you could please hit that like button, it really does help us out, and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content like this, and more content like our reactions and our podcast.
Let's hop into it. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I think first things first, we just got to say is, it's a good movie.
It's fantastic.
It's amazing.
It has definitely cemented itself in one of my favorite superhero movie lists. I don't know where that ranks yet. We're going to see it tomorrow, so opening night technically, so the 4th. So we're gonna have a lot more thoughts and a lot more to discuss with the podcast, which the other two guys will be joining us on that. But yeah, let's kick it off like right away. The intro to the movie.
It is so immersing and it hooks you instantaneously. So I mean, like, kudos to them. And like, I don't know if this was just like an early screening thing but like for us, it just went no trailers, right into it. Batman title, and you go right into the movie, and it's like it just draws you right in. It's plays out like a horror movie, like what you said.
Yeah, obviously we said no spoilers, so we won't give anything away. But yeah, there's a few reveals in the beginning that just henceforth that sent shivers down me spine, and basically. It was very reminiscent of, I would say, like Saw mixed with like Zodiac mixed with
even just like the style of the film is very noir,
yeah.
Very Tim Burton. Like when I first saw the first footage of Batman, I was like, this is what I hope it is gonna be is like a modern adaptation of like Tim Burton, which is like my film friends out there, if you know, is like German Expressionism, which is noir, which is like all this like really big like Gothic buildings, really shot dirty, grungy.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's the way the world is built is something we don't see very often, which was really cool to see them pay attention to like details and really build the world that Batman and Gotham is in at this time.
And speaking of like things we haven't seen before, like that's the first thing I said to you coming out. I'm like, I'm glad they went the direction they did. The entire time I was thinking, obviously The Long Halloween is a huge influence. Matt Reeves just came out and said that. So is Pattinson, but like straight up some of the lines and like some
we looked at each other in the theater. It's like,
yeah, we're like, oh,
Long Halloween.
Okay. But just like tonally and like what the characters do and the pairings of some characters are very fresh, and like we haven't necessarily seen that in the movie culture of Batman so far, which is what I really liked. And I'm glad they didn't go in a direction that kind of just gave us something we'd already seen in live action.
The entire time I was just smiling because of how like off guard a lot of things caught me. Like I was just not expecting. Like you think you know things going in, but you don't. And the way it plays, seeing it play out is like it's such a joy watching it, because it's finally something that we get to sink our teeth in that's a little bit different.
Yep.
Let's talk about casting though, because I know like a lot of people were really concerned when Robert Pattinson was first cast. I mean, look at us. Like when we first saw the cowl and the costume, we didn't love it at first, but I think he did a really great job with this role. Yeah. It's a very different Batman interpretation, which is like what you said. It works really well for this. Like we'll want to go more into details. It's really hard to talk about it without spoiling it, but he's good. Any of you that were worried about him playing Batman, you have nothing to be worried about. It's good for the interpretation 100%. That it's in.
That's the key right there. It's good for the story that they're trying to tell. If you're expecting another Batfleck or Bale,
you might be disappointed.
Yeah, you might be a little disappointed, but I very much so recommend going in with just open arms and just really taking it in for what it is.
And that like goes back to my previous point about like why the world building is so crucial and so well done, is because like you buy all of the characters in this 100%. World that they've created, right? So it might be a little bit different than what you're used to, but if you just lock yourself into that world that Matt Reeves created, you'll be locked in.
100%.
But I mean, like it's funny though, but he was amazing, but the supporting cast really
incredible
steals the show. Like him and Catwoman are awesome. All the stuff we saw in the promo material, like jack that up to 10. It's like way, it's really good. It's the best Catwoman and Batman interaction we've seen on
100%.
screen.
I think Riddler, although, you know, everyone's comparing this to like, oh, you know, it's the best villain since like Heath Ledger's Joker. It's like, I wouldn't
compare them.
I wouldn't compare them, but I think it's the best Batman villain we have seen on screen since.
I think
that.
he's the scariest.
He's
I
the scariest, and just the raw emotion and like and fear that you feel from his performance is just like, wow, okay.
Paul
like, we
Dano
haven't seen that in a while.
He's perfect for this version of the Riddler. Like watching this, I'm like, okay, I can't really see anybody else doing what he did. So like he did a great job. Jim Gordon is awesome in this movie.
Jeffrey Wright did a fucking incredible job. He's like perfect casting for Jim. Alfred
was great. It was a different take.
Yeah, not a lot of screen time, a different take.
Who else? Oh, Ozzy Penguin.
Yeah,
was so good. I was surprised how much he was in the movie and how much I loved him.
Yeah,
he was so entertaining. Every time he was on screen, I had a big smile. And like, there's one line I looked at you and I said, even after we walked out of the theater, I'm like, I never thought I would see that in a live action Batman movie or just hear that line. Like, it's the smallest little thing, and I can't wait to talk about it on the podcast. But it's just like it made me so happy. Good. It's like, again, world lore building is so good in this movie.
Okay, I think probably the last point we should touch on I think everything else like we could talk about is very spoilery.
Yeah,
but
so we'll just save it for the podcast.
I will end off by saying we're not usually huge like car chase people or like anything like that, but the Batmobile scene in this movie, it literally was our favorite scene of the entire movie. And it's just like, it's not just because it's just a car chase, but it's like, it's the way he uses it
and the sound design.
Evoke fear. Yeah. That's all we will say. It's not a spoiler, it's just be conscious of audio, we'll say.
I don't even know, did I even talk about like just like the production of this movie? Like just like hands down, bar none, this is one of the best, not even like just superhero, I'm talking like this is just one of the best looking films I've seen in a really long time. Like,
since like Blade Runner 2049.
I was gonna say, and like me comparing it to Blade Runner Dune, well, it's the same guy.
Literally great for exact same guy.
So I mean, like for me to compare this to Blade Runner, which is like the gold standard of cinematography for me, it was just like, wow, I didn't like, I knew it was gonna look good. I didn't expect it to look that good.
Yeah.
Sound design was impeccable.
Incredible sound design. They really do a lot to kind of associate a sound with Batman,
and
which
Riddler
you will see. Yeah, you will see what I mean by that when you watch the movie. But yeah, all in all, I think it's really solid. I do think, you know, a lot of the critics right now are saying that the third act is kind of its weakest. I
agree with that.
I agree, but also I don't think the entirety of the third act is weak. I just think the climax is the weakest part. But
it's so strong all the way throughout the film. There's just like, how do you where do you go from there? How do you finish it, right? So,
but it's still good.
Yeah,
like it still works.
This is nitpicking.
Yeah.
I am excited for my second screening, because obviously these are our first impressions, and like now that I know all the things that happen, I can really focus on what's happening on the screen instead of trying to figure out what's going to happen. So I'm very excited to see how I feel. I think I'm like you, I'm going to like it even more. I already love it, but I can't wait to see it the second time to really be like, oh shit, I missed that in the first
100%.
So
if you've made it this far, thank you so much for hearing our thoughts. We will be doing the podcast that will be releasing at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Saturday, March the 5th. So please keep a lookout for that. That will be all spoilery,
all the goodness, all the good talks.
All the good talks. And thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, appreciate you listening to us ramble. We want to know what you think about the Batman. If you've been lucky enough to see it, let us know in the comments down below. But keep it spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free in the comments.
If it's not spoiler-free, I'll delete your comment.
You will be deleted, and we will chirp you viciously. Just kidding. We won't. But don't
do that. Don't be a pig.
Save it for the spoiler video. Bye!